So, you've been wanting to get into a military flight sim. Maybe you're completely new to the genre, maybe you've been playing a lot of War Thunder, but you want to get into some more simulator type of games. Or maybe you play a lot of Microsoft Flight Sim, but you like... So you decided to get into military flight simulators. Well, today I'll be taking a look at DCS and VTOL VR, and kinda compare and contrast, kinda also just talking about them both, and maybe, just maybe, help you decide which one you want to get into. So firstly, I want to take a look at the necessary hardware to play these two games. First off, the elephant in the room. For VTOL VR, you'll obviously need a VR headset. I mean, it's in the title. So I'll just assume you already have that, as it wouldn't be anywhere near worth getting a VR headset for this game only, if you weren't already interested and were getting more games alongside VTOL. But other than that, what's the hardware do you need like? Well, I'll start off with a bit of an odd one, and that is storage. Because all in all, with the helicopter DLC installed, my VTOL download is a measly 2.7 gig, which, if it wasn't obvious enough, is really small for today's standards. While this is a monstrous download clocking in over 100 gigabytes, I think it's about 140 gigs, and that's without any DLC at all. My download is about 215 gigabytes, and that is without a majority of DLC. Just a few planes and 2 maps, one of which wasn't even that big, about a 6 gig download if I recall correctly, and the Free Marianas map. In terms of running the games, in VTOL you'll get by with just about any VR ready computer. Basically, if your computer can run any other VR game, it'll probably run VTOL. It is cited though in the minimum specs a GTX 970 with a 1070 recommended. In DCS it's a bit more complicated, as you could probably get away with a very low spec PC since it is in VR, with the 760 cited on the website. You would probably have a fine experience. Don't expect much over 30 FPS in low settings though. Also to note is that you will still need a good amount of RAM, with sometimes even 16 gigs as the minimum for some of the missions. Recommended as cited on the website is the 1070 here as well. All of this is for DCS in flat screen though. If you wanted to play DCS in VR, the recommended as cited on the website is a 1080, but I'm not sure if you would even get an okay experience on that, since I can get down to 40-ish FPS on a 3080 Ti with all the settings almost as low as they can go. Other external hardware needed, excluding VR headset for VTOL, is for VTOL, nothing. If you have a VR headset or plan on getting one, welcome aboard. In DCS though, it is heavily recommended to have a joystick. You can get away with a controller, although it's not optimal, and I don't think a keyboard and mouse would be fun at all. Otherwise for DCS would perhaps be head tracking, although this is not at all as important as a joystick and not something you have to think about at all if you're planning on playing in VR. It's not really necessary for flat screen either. For example, I play mostly flat screen with some VR and I don't have head tracking. It's just a really nice thing to have. Makes variables easier to navigate. Anyway, that's enough about the hardware side. Let's actually talk about the game's graphics and gameplay. So, I want to start off by lightly touching on the graphics. I don't want to spend too much time here as it's quite cut and dry honestly. VTOL looks pretty basic, but it does have its charm. Part of that charm is also not killing your graphics card or SSD/HDD. And on the other side of the coin there's DCS, which look about as good as your computer allows it to. The game is stunning, as I'm sure my background footage has already showed you. Flowing nicely from the graphics we get to the gameplay. You could say there's a parallel with the gameplay and the graphics in these games, as VTOL gets the more basic and charming graphics together with a more basic and easy to understand gameplay loop. The jets are quite simplified and easy to handle. They'd be perfect if you were completely new to flight sims. The weapons are also really easy to use, and to prove my point, I'll now show you how to deploy laser guided bombs in either game with the fictional FA-26 Wasp in VTOL and the kinda equivalent of the FA-18 Hornet in DCS. Wasp kinda looks more like an F-15 though. To note is that you'll also need a targeting pod in each game.
Alright, launching the bird up. Alright, let's go. We did my takeoff dance. And go up. Alright, cool. Alright, my target, that ship right there. Alright, so my target is right on that triangle, so let's power on the pod. Let's zoom in onto the target. Very good, very good. Arm it. And let's laser mark on. choose the bombs. There's our drop indicator.
Shoot.
So let's fire up all the bombs on that target. Let's get you a better view right there. And splash one boat.
Turn on that display, the HUD, that display, and that kind of display. So I was originally gonna have me pressing all the buttons in the Hornet for the Hornet startup procedure like I did in VTOL, but there's just way too many buttons in this one rather than VTOL. So instead I'll just leave you with this beautiful timer of the plane alignment itself. That timer where it says time is real time. This just sped up really fast. Alright, and after 8 minutes of waiting, we are finally done. Alright, setting up. And that is how you deploy the same weapon in these two games. Quite a stark contrast, huh? Now getting to the jet handling in DCS, which I kinda spoiled by my weapon showcase, there's two types of planes in DCS. The Flaming Cliffs 3 planes and the Full Fidelity planes. They work as following. The Flaming Cliffs 3 planes, FC3 for sure, are really simplified planes like a VTOL but without the clickable cockpit, while the Full Fidelity planes are, well, full fidelity, as I said on the tin. They work almost exactly like they would in real life. You wanna start that plane? Well, go check the manual like you would in the real thing. Wanna use weapons? Well, better get ready for an all-nighter with Google if you wanna learn all the weapon systems and targeting systems of that plane. You see, this is why it's called a study sim. It'll take you a lot of hours before you even manage to get semi-alright in these planes. Google and the manual will be your friends in this game. And if you refuse to use those two, well, see you in 200 hours and you'll still be stuck on the ground. Except, of course, if you're an actual pilot, then you'll feel right at home. Basically, what I'm saying with this segment is that VTOL is very beginner friendly and also a very fun flight sim, while DCS is not really that beginner friendly. You also really want to get better or a friend helping you along if you want to go anywhere in this game. Still really fun though. I'd quickly like to talk about the monetization of both games. It might seem that if you're in a tight financial space then DCS is free, right? Well, yes, it is free, but that comes with a long fine print since you only start out with 2 planes and 1 map. There's another DLC map available for free from the store though. But all of the other modules cost money. Modules is just another word for DLC basically. It's used when referred to both the DLC planes and maps. A few examples are FA-18 Hornet is $73.99, A-10C2 is $73.99, F5E Tiger 2 is $55.99, F86 Sabre is $46.99, F14 Tomcat is $73.99, and basically all World War II era warbirds are $46.99. All prices in Europe. But those are just some examples. There are also more things to spend your money on in DCS, which are the campaigns. Which, well, while most of the planes come with 1 or 2 campaigns, after that you'll have to buy them. While in VTOL, you get an entry fee of $25.99, but with that you also get all the planes and campaigns in the game. There's just one DLC in the game. Future me just coming in here to say that there is a new piece of DLC available, the T-55 trainer jet, which is €589. Back to previous me. and that is the AH-94 attack helicopter, which is $9.99. So the total in VTOL is still under just one plane in DCS. I forgot to mention FC3 planes are $13.99 a pop, so we can buy 2 planes for under the VTOL cost. These are, however, not full fiddle planes, so you don't get the clickable cockpit with these. Oh, and yeah, there are also helicopters in DCS. Just want to mention that. I mentioned in the DCS part that you can buy maps in the game. Well, in VTOL, you can make your own custom terrains and maps with its built-in tools. Or you can download pre-made maps from the community on the Steam Workshop page. So I'd like to start off with the DCS here. In DCS you get a couple of missions with each plane, so some that are called instant action, and these are, well, instant action. Simple, fast action missions if you're feeling bored and want something quick to do. The next type of missions are, drumroll please, mission. Then the next type are literally just called missions. These are honestly interchangeable with instant action in my experience. They might be a bit longer and complicated, but not much different to me. The last type of single player content are campaigns. I don't know too much about these since I haven't actually played them. I prefer multiplayer, just fooling around in sandbox lobbies. Maybe a bit of instant action missions here and there, but I think they're just missions stringed together with some sort of story being told, with pre-briefings and actual voice acting. In VTOL, you also get instant action-like things, where you could get a free play mission or nail strike or something very similar to DCS. You also get campaigns. The difference is you don't buy them, you don't buy more of them. You download them straight from the Steam Workshop as they are community made. Most of the ones in DCS are also community made, just sold. So that's enough about the single player. Playing with bots is all good and fun, but these are after all simulators, so you need to face someone a bit smarter than a circuit board to get the full experience. I'm gonna separate this multiplayer segment into 2 different parts, the public servers and closed servers with your friends. So I'd like to start with DCS immediately to address something that might be a problem for some people, and that is the fact that you need to port forward to open your own lobby. With that being said, it isn't difficult doing that, it's just some people might not feel comfortable to do that, or they just don't want to bother of doing something like that. And after that, you'll need your own missions. The single player missions don't carry over, and there aren't any standard multiplayer missions, so you'll probably end up making these yourself. You can probably find some online to download, I just haven't done that. I just made my own missions. That could be a part of the charm, or it could be really annoying. It just depends on the type of person you are. Why did I write that? That sounds weird and out of place. That was absolutely horrible. The phrasing didn't even make sense. Anyway, moving on to VTOL, which is once again in stark contrast to DCS. It is super simple to start your own match. Put a password on it and just jump in. Like in DCS, you can make your own missions. There are also baked in multiplayer missions ready to go if you don't feel like doing that. There are also missions on the workshop that work in multiplayer. So as for public multiplayer, they appeal to different tastes here as well. In VTOL you get small scale operations with a small team trying to complete mission objectives, for the most part. There's some dogfight and BVR servers as well, but these are on the smaller side. While in DCS you get all large scale battles where you can get 30 or 40v40 in all out dogfights or BVR with often some side missions, which is a term I use loosely, of caster strafing runs. There's also quite a few training servers. There are also different time periods in some of the servers, like the biggest Cold War server is Enigma's Dynamic Cold War campaign server, or the Growling Side or Open Conflict server for modern combat. Most of them I do believe are modern though. So you've chosen the game that sounds right for you, and you want to try it out. Well, in the case of VTOL, trying it out is more of just buying the game and hoping you like it. But you've probably done enough research to know it's the right game for you. Right? Anyway, one transaction and a very swift download later, you're in. I hope you enjoy your new game. So for the rest of this section, I'm going to give you some tips in terms of trying DCS, because you know, this one's actually free, so you can try it. But there are some things to still consider. The first being, do you have enough time and are you willing enough to learn this game? This is an amazing game, but it really does take a long time to get decent, so you have to know you're willing to commit to that time to get good, or you're just not going to have a good time. Who am I kidding though? If you're here, you probably know it's going to take time and you're in for the long haul, because it really is a wonderful game. The second consideration is if you want the Steam version or standalone. They are completely identical in terms of the game and gameplay, fully cross-compatible with each other. The differences are more outside of the game, mostly relating to the DLC. The list of pros offered by the Steam edition is quite small, with the only real benefit is auto updates. The only other benefit, which I even hesitate to call a benefit, is that it tracks in-game time. The standalone version also does this to an extent, but it only applies to single player. You can see how much time you spend in each aircraft though. Single player and vehicle time tracking are also available in the Steam version via in-game menus. It's in-game menus on standalone as well. The Steam time tracking is nothing special, it's just a standard Steam time tracker of total in-game hours, menu time included. It's just that standalone doesn't have that. Anyway, for the list of pros of the standalone version, buckle in, there's quite a few of them. The first benefit is probably the least exciting for you as the player, but it's still quite good, and that is that the devs get 100% of the money, as Steam obviously doesn't take a cut of the standalone version, which they do with the Steam version. The benefits that might interest you more is as follows. You get a 50% discount on your first purchase. You get a free trial of almost all of the aircraft in the game. I'm not sure if there are some you might not be able to try, but you can try almost all of them, if not all. Fourth benefit is that you get more sales and they last longer, and the last benefit is that the promo codes you sometimes see only work in the Eagle Dynamics web store. That's all the benefits I can think about for each version. I might have missed something, so anyway, that is your second consideration. It's basically just convenience versus saving money and supporting the devs more. It doesn't really matter which one you choose, as the game is identical. It is literally the same thing, but still a choice to make. Here comes the third part about the trying out process, the download. Do I want to give up 100 plus gigs for this game? Do I have the space? If you're at this part, then you probably do have the space and you're willing to sacrifice it. So here comes the boring part, the download. Depending on your internet speed, this might take a while, but just be patient, it is worth it. The game is awesome. After that, you're pretty much ready to go. Spawn in the free Mustang or Frogfoot and have fun. A few notes here though is, if you're planning on trying out the Mustang, keep in mind that it's the TF51 and not P51. This just means it's the civilian version, so you won't get any guns, bombs or rockets. If you're planning on playing the Frogfoot, on the other hand, you have to keep in mind it's an FC3 plane, meaning the cockpit isn't clickable. This one does have weapons though. Another quick note is that if you are done playing with the Mustang and Frogfoot but don't feel ready to take the next step and buy your first plane, is that there is a free A4 Skyhawk mod that is really good. This one does have both guns and a clickable cockpit. I'll leave a link to the download in the description. So you made it to the end. Feeling confident which game is your type yet? Well, I hope so. Otherwise, I just kinda wasted your time. And if that's the case, I'm sorry. I guess I'll just sum it up as, if you want a really detailed and super realistic combat flight sim experience, go with the DCS. Well, if you have a VR headset and want a bit more chill, laid back experience, perhaps near to the genre, go with VTOL. Choice is really yours. I mean, it certainly isn't mine. Well, anyway, I hope you liked the video and that you have a great rest of your day. Thank you for your time, and goodbye.